What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing something that is really broad. It's a question that seems simple when you first think about it, but the more you think about it and the further you delve into it, the more there seems to be to collecting. So we're going to be discussing how you collect Funko Pops, and it's something that we as collectors, I think, even for seasoned collectors, is something that we have to reassess continually. So we're going to be discussing a bit of that, a couple of theories, a couple of tips, a couple of tricks from my side, a bit of my opinion about collecting and collecting Funko Pops in particular. And then of course, guys, we have passed 450 subscribers right here on What's Popping, which means it's time to do another giveaway. Now this to me is a topic that requires a lot of discussion, a lot of thinking, and is very personal to each and every collector. Why do you collect? How do you collect? How do you start a collection?
Where are you off to? I'm going on an adventure!
And this is something I have been asked many times. So I think for this video we're going to start at the bottom and build our way up. We're going to focus on Funko Pops because, of course, that is my addiction, that is my curse and my blessing. I absolutely love collecting. It is an awesome hobby and it is so much fun to do. But a lot of people ask me, how do we get into it? And that, while it seems a simple question, is not altogether an invalid one, guys. What I find and what new collectors are probably daunted by the most is that Funko just has such a sheer amount of Funko Pops, figures, you name it, Funko's doing it. They now have these little Funko soda cans where you can collect characters out of there. There is so much, you're so spoiled for choice that you actually, a lot of people are inundated. We're not quite sure what lines to collect, where do we start, how do we start, what should I be collecting, what shouldn't I be collecting, and it's really confusing. And even for collectors that have been collecting for a long time, I think we're seeing that Funko are really taking that motto of theirs, is that everybody's a fan of something, and running with it beyond any of our expectations. We've got to the point where we're getting pops of just about everything. So for a new collector especially, it's very intimidating to come into the field of collecting. So what I was going to do is I'm going to walk through some of the different ways of thinking about collecting Funko Pops, give a couple of my opinions, and you guys let me know in the comments down below how you collect. How do you run your collection? How do you curb your collecting that doesn't get out of control? Control is probably a bit of a topic that I should not be talking about because I have quite a few Funko Pops, guys. I have a very big addiction. I've been collecting for several years now. So control, it might be a bit hypocritical for me to talk too much about control. But anyways, guys, let's start with the first argument, or the first question that a lot of Funko collectors deal with. And that is, am I going to be an in-box or out-of-box collector?
Hey, let's open them up and put them in there.
Oh, good Lord, no!
Why, they're just toys.
They're mint in box.
Come on, can't we open one up and take a look?
Once you open the box, it loses its value.
And the arguments for these, there's good arguments on either side. I personally have in-box and out-of-box Funko Pops. So an in-box collector is really going to buy their Funko Pop and keep it in the box. Most of these collectors will not take these Pops out of the box, they will keep them in the box. What's great about Funko Pops is that they display very well in box. So you can see here we have White Goodman from Dodgeball, and you can see him very clearly. There's a nice window for him, the box art is really nice. So that's one way to collect your Pops. And some of the reasons people do this, or a lot of the arguments that I've heard people say, well, this is why I collect this way, is because if you're going to sell your Funko Pop one day, if you're going to trade your Pop, you need the box. And preferably you need the box in very good condition. So these people want to keep their Pops in mint condition and be able to either sell the Pop at a later date if the value goes up, if they just feel that they're tired of collecting Pops and they want to move certain Pops out of their collection. A lot of us as collectors, we evolve in the way we're collecting, and I'll talk about that in a second. And you might decide, you know what, this line is not for me anymore. I'm going to get rid of these couple of Pops so I can buy and focus on something else. And so that's one of the reasons that people tend to keep their Pops in box. Another reason is just space. Now, guys, I have a lot of Pops out of the box. Pops out of the box. You can see behind me here, I've stored quite a few Pops out of the box. I have some in box here, but I'm a personal believer as well in keeping the boxes. So even though I store Pops out of the box, I keep the box. So what that means for me is I have double the storage issue. I'm fortunate enough to have a crafts room where I'm able to keep all of my Pops and figures and nerdy awesomeness. If you're not in such a fortunate position, you might be forced to just collect your Pops, keep them in box, and you can stack them, and it's really easy and convenient to keep them that way. Now, another reason for collecting Pops in box, and a reason I keep the boxes, is I'm a big fan of comic conventions and going out to different you know, meet and greets and different fan and geek gatherings, basically. And at the end of the day, you never know who is going to be at one of these conventions, and I love getting stuff signed. I am an autograph fanatic, so that's another reason I keep the box, is because you never know when somebody famous or somebody that you want to sign a pop that means something to you is going to be in town, and of course you need the box to get it signed. So that's one of the reasons I keep all the boxes for my pops. Firstly, in case one day I want to sell them, even if I'm storing them out of box. If I want to sell the pop one day, I need to keep that box in good condition. And then I do change it around sometimes. Some pops I think look nice in box, so I keep them in box. And others, or you know, exclusives. For me, my flocked pops that I have a flocked Buckbeak over here. I keep this guy in box because he's flocked and I'm worried about dust and all sorts of nonsense getting on him. So he stays in box. But yeah, that's the line of thinking behind in-box collecting. Now, out-of-box collectors, which is something I tend to agree with a lot, is that they favor the detail and the fun of the figure. So they're collecting more for fun. You know, I collect what I like, and I collect for fun. So we collect pops out of the box, and the reason for that is, the argument I make a lot about is if you are not at least taking your pop out of the box once, you're missing out on some of this awesome detail that Funko are putting into their figurines. Now, some of the earlier figurines weren't as detailed as these ones are now. They were really simple, and they were actually criticized for that. People saying, you know, these figures all look the same. But what they've gone to now, I mean, this is one of the new Mandalorian Funko Pops, and you can see the dust on his helmet, even around the detail on his belt. If you're not keeping this guy in the box, you might miss out on a lot of that. And some pops have nice little Easter eggs and things hidden on the back that you won't see if you keep them in the box. So that's my main reasoning behind whether I keep a pop in box or out of box. Every pop in my collection, or most of them, have been out of the box at least once, and we've had a look at them. Others I take out, put them back in the box, stack them, keep the boxes, keep them in the box, you know, basically whatever floats your boat. That's how I go about collecting. Now, there's people with very different views on this. Some people will be watching this video, seeing out of box pops and ripping their hair out.
Please, no! 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 No!
I don't blame you. That's your way of collecting. Keep doing what you're doing. I like to just enjoy them. I do, when I keep the boxes, keep them as mint as I can, in case I can get that pop signed one day, or I change my mind, I want to store it in box. So there's a lot of ways of going about just the first step of Funko collecting. The next thing I want to talk about is, how are you going to go about collecting? What kind of collector are you? As I said, Funko's main mantra is everyone is a fan of something. So they're producing stuff for everybody. And that, at the end of the day, is, I think, why pops are so broadly appealing. Because you can have a fanatical collector like me who just loves these figures and really gets into them, or you can be somebody who goes and buys one figure and is happy to have that on your desk or in your room, and that's a figure, you know, you might be a music fan and there's one musician that they've made a pop of that you want for your collection, or you've been to the concert and you're going to keep that. So there's really, you know, you don't... Buying a Funko Pop or getting involved in Funko Pop collecting doesn't necessarily mean you need to buy everything, because at the end of the day you can't. There is just no way to collect everything. That brings me to my next point, is how you go about collecting in terms of your own rules, because at the end of the day Funko make so much. It is so difficult to keep up with them. It is difficult even if you decide to collect a certain line many times. They come up with the variants. We all know we have chase hunters out there. For anybody who doesn't know what a chase Funko Pop is, this is an example of a chase. And they will make, for example, this pop in particular is a 1 in 6 chase, which means that every 6 figure that they make has got a slight difference on the figure. So this one is Newt Scamander from Crimes of Grindelwald, and you can see on the side of the box that's what the normal figure looks like. And if you look carefully in the box there, you'll see he's holding his book, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So that's what they do. They make chase figures. Now, we have some people who are just chase hunters. Some people enjoy collecting Funko Pops for the thrill of the, excuse the pun, chase. The thrill of the chase. That's why they're called chase Funko Pops. So some people love collecting them because they're rare. People enjoy having something that's a bit rare, and they enjoy the thrill of the hunt, being out in the wild, as all of us Funko Pop collectors call it, and going around and collecting those rare figurines. And there's nothing wrong with that. People love collecting rare things, and that's part of the fun. So there are some people who just collect chase Funko Pops, or just collect exclusive Funko Pops. We have, again, the Buckbeak example. This is a Hot Topic exclusive in the States, and some people just want to collect figures that are, you know, exclusive or just part of a single event. We have pops from Comic-Cons. I mean, this is an example. In South Africa we don't have our own Funko Pops made for Comic-Cons, but this pop was only available with this sticker at Comic-Con Africa in 2019, just last year. So some people just like to collect pops that are rare, and that's how they want to go about it. Funko Pops can become insanely expensive, guys. There are examples out there of Funko Pops like Grail Pops, which a Grail meaning a piece that people, it's either really rare or it's something that somebody really wants in their collection. Often, when we talk about Grails, it's monetary value. Personally, to me, a Grail Funko Pop is a pop that has a great story behind it, one that you've struggled to get, and then you finally get it, and you're just so happy to have it in your collection. But there are pops out there like Headless Ned Stark, who goes for insane amounts of money. Some of the early Disney pops, crazy money on those figures. So some people are trying to buy pops and collect them and keep them aside in the hope of that figure becoming worth a whole lot of money one day. I don't want to say it's not going to happen, because it has happened already. I've missed out on one of those. We recently, just to give an example of that, we recently, over the last year and a bit, had the Sadio Mane pop released in South Africa. And I toyed with picking it up or not. It had a sticker on it saying limited to 3,000 pieces. And I thought, you know, this, it's not a piece I really like. You know, I'm not a massive Premier League fan. I'm not going to pick it up. And it was $250 local currency here in rands, and that pop is now selling for, I think, over 4,000 rand. So so I'm not going to go ahead and say don't collect pops as an investment, because they can become investment opportunities, but it's very rare when that actually happens. So I'm not going to advise anybody out there who's thinking about getting into Funko Pop collecting to do it for the money, because these figures are becoming so mass produced that it is very, very rare for a figure to go up in value quickly. Years from now might be a different story, but new figures are coming out in new molds, and that is changing the value of some of the older figures. It's sometimes pushing them up, sometimes bringing them a bit down, and that's something that collectors are dealing with as they go about their collecting. And that's what I want to talk about when I say collectors need to change their way of thinking. So you might start a collection and decide, you know what, I'm going to complete this collection. And that with Funko Pops is something that is incredibly difficult to do, because as I said, they're always bringing out new figures, and even if they aren't bringing out new figures, there are always a couple of figures in that set that are difficult to get. Either because they have been vaulted, which means that Funko has basically retired the mold for that figurine and are no longer making it. It's difficult to get those. Those are basically off the shelves, no longer in production, and you keep up on the Funko app. That's one way of tracking your collection, is to make sure you can see on the Funko app what has been recently vaulted, and what the value of some of the different pops are, and you can see the trends, whether the value is going up or not. But it's not just vaulted pops that are difficult to get hold of. Funko also tend to release exclusives that can be very difficult for people in different regions to get their hands on. For example, if you decided you were going to buy Game of Thrones Funko Pops, and that's a line you want to collect, and that's something I collect. I love Game of Thrones, and when I collected, I thought I want all of the Game of Thrones pops. And it's not something that's necessarily bad, but it's going to lead you down a very difficult path in terms of your collecting.
You're going down a path I can't follow.
Now those pops just tend to go, they've gone crazy with Game of Thrones pops. They've made characters they've made numerous molds of different characters, they've made exclusives. One of those grails that I spoke about that is worth an insane amount of money is that Headless Ned Stark. So if you are somebody who is a true out-and-out completionist, that might be something you have to think about when you go into collecting Funko Pops, because collecting an entire set is very rare. In all of my years of collecting, and I've been collecting for quite a few years now, I think I can say with confidence that the only collection that I've fully completed is my dodgeball collection, which is thankfully a 2-pop collection, and one that Funko has not gone on to add any extra pops, any pop rides, pop deluxe, exclusive chases, new molds, anything like that. That's probably my only collection, aside from a couple of pops where you have individuals, like just one pop is made. So there was a Patina Stan Lee, and in your mind, like in my mind, I say I've collected the whole collection, it's just a Patina Stan Lee, but you have other people out there who collect all the Stan Lee pops. So you have to decide for yourself, to what extent are you going to be a completionist? I've been collecting Game of Thrones for a long time. I know now I'm never going to complete the Game of Thrones collection. There are too many variants, there are too many difficult to get pops, and frankly there are too many pops that are way more expensive than what I'd be willing to pay for a pop for me to complete that collection. That's something else you need to think about, guys. What are you willing to pay for a pop? Some of these pops get insanely expensive, so I've set myself a rule. I will not pay more than a certain amount of money for a pop. That's just the way it is. So regardless of whether it's a grail, whether it's something insane, set yourself a limit. That's one way to start collecting. So I would say, first off, that's your first tip. We're 13 minutes into the video, but that's the first tip I'm going to give you is set yourself a personal limit of what you're willing to pay for a Funko Pop. I don't just collect Funko Pops. I collect some statues. I have some different, I want to, for lack of a better word, call them artifacts from Harry Potter and Star Wars and all that kind of thing. So set yourself a certain value that you're willing to pay for a pop. And that to me is a good guideline and a way to move forward, because we all try and set ourselves monthly budgets. We say to ourselves, we're only going to collect so much from a particular line, and then Funko comes out with 100 new items in 3 months, and we're back at square one in terms of what are we going to collect next. So set yourself what you're willing to pay as a maximum for a figure, and then set yourself a monthly budget as much as you can. Some people say they don't collect Funko Pops because it's addictive. I would say the opposite. It is actually a very good life skill to learn. If you can say to yourself, I'm only going to collect 2 Funko Pops a month, it's a good exercise in restraint, and also a bit of a reward for yourself at the end of the month. You say, you know what, I've had a difficult month, I'm going to go out and buy my Funko Pop for the month. It's a nice exercise in restraint and rewarding yourself, which I think is something we all need. We live in a crazy world, it's hectic, everybody needs an outlet of some kind. So that's number 1. Finances. Work out how you're going to go about collecting your Pops. As I mentioned, are you going to be a completionist? I highly, highly advise against it. Guys, collect what you like. I've made a rule for myself now. I have a couple of Pops where I have 1 or 2 of the same character. I've got a bit of a Batman collection, so I've got a couple of those. I've set myself a couple of characters that I'm willing to buy more than 1 of. So there are certain characters like Batman or like certain Harry Potters in different poses that I'm happy to buy more than 1 of. But I've come to another decision where I've said now, moving forward, if I've got a specific character, I will not buy a new version of that character. So I'm doing that with a lot of my Marvel figurines. If I have got a Nebula or a Thor, I'm not going to buy any of the new Thors and Nebulas that they come out with. They came out with a whole new wave of Avengers Pops for Avengers Endgame, all of them in those white suits, and I was able to skip all of those because I have a Nebula, I have a Thor, I'm good. So that's another way of going about it, guys. If you can sort of placate the OCD within you, which is something that I have a bit of, and say, you know what, they've come out with a new set. I mean, let's look, for example, at Rick and Morty. They bring out a lot of Rick and Morty Pops. So I've said to myself, well, I've now got a Rick, I've now got a Morty, and for that reason I can skip Rick and Morty. I've got the Chase Morty from the set, so I can skip this Rick and this Morty. So I don't need them. And then there's a couple of other characters that I didn't quite enjoy so much, so I didn't pick those up. But that's one way of getting around being an out-and-out completionist, and that's something I've been struggling with because there's one collection I'm trying to complete, and that is my Lord of the Rings collection. Now I'm very close to completing that in my own terms. If I was really wanting to complete it, I would say, well, I need to go and I've got the Chase Frodo. I think there aren't any other Chases in the Lord of the Rings set, so I've got Frodo and Chase Frodo. That's the only out-and-out duplicate. No, I've got Aragorn. I've got Aragorn in a couple of different poses. So I've got Frodo and I've got a couple of Aragorns, and if I was really trying to complete the set, at the moment I'm saying to myself I need Gandalf the White and Gandalf on Gwai here. And then the Aragorn and Arwen 2-pack from SDCC to complete that set. Now, my problem lies is that Aragorn and Arwen 2-pack that I need to complete the set is outside of my range that I would normally pay for a pop. So I've set myself that rule, and by that rule I will probably not complete this collection. Also, I've said to myself, my collection will be complete when I have 1 of each character. So there are various versions of Invisible Frodo, Invisible Gollum. I've only got the Gollum Chase, not the normal one. If you're an out-and-out completionist, you've got to go and collect all of those pieces, and that's not something I'm willing to do. So that's just my personal opinion on collecting and being a completionist. With those 2 tips about collecting in mind, in terms of setting yourself a budget and setting yourself constraints in terms of what you're going to collect, I'm going to give one final tip because the video is getting a bit long and I don't want to keep you guys here forever. So guys, on that final note of collecting and setting a specific amount you're willing to pay for a certain figure, the reason that I did that ties into my 3rd collecting tip, and that is not to get caught up in the hype.
Are there any left?
There may be one. Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very...
We have these figures coming out all the time. We have new molds, we have new characters, new movies coming out, Chasers being released, San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, ECCC, all of this stuff's being fired at us, Funko Shop exclusives, and it's very easy to get caught up in that hype, and that's why I made that rule for myself about setting a specific amount you're willing to pay for a figure, because there is nothing more heart-wrenching than buying a pop as soon as it comes out, or the first place you pick it up, and you see a month later, 2 months later, it's on a crazy special and you've missed out and it's blown your budget on that figure. So what I recommend, guys, this is a personal decision. There's going to be people out there who disagree with me, and that's fine. That's the way you go about your collecting. What I do is I do my best not to pay retail for a Funko Pop. So what I will do when a new figure comes out, there are certain figures out there, granted, when they've released, I've gone and bought them because they were within my budget, they were the retail price, and I was not willing to miss out on that figure. So you need to decide, when a new figure comes out, are you willing to wait on it and hope that the price is going to come down? Do you think it's going to be a popular figure that everyone's going to grab immediately? Or in 2 months' time, is it going to be on that budget shelf? That's something to consider, not only for retailers, but also for resellers online. When these events first start or a new release comes out, the one example I can think of was the Target exclusive Pikachu. When that guy came out, people were picking it up from Target and reselling it online for insane amounts of money. And if you had just waited a little while, waited for the restock at Target, you would have picked it up way cheaper and more much closer to the retail price, because it was difficult to get hold of. That's an example. Do with it what you will. At the end of the day, guys, I have the philosophy, if you miss it, you miss it. If it was over your budget and you couldn't afford it, rather miss the pop. And you might pick it up at a later stage, you might not. That's part of collecting, it's part of the risk. Personal philosophy, guys. I hope these tips helped. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any tips that you would like to use. Have you heard all of this before? And let me know what your tips are. How do you go about collecting? What lines do you collect? How do you limit your collecting? Because we all know you cannot collect everything. There's just way too much stuff out there. Let me know what you collect. What lines are you collecting? Are you trying to complete new lines? Are you getting close? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear all about it. But for now, guys, let's get into the giveaway. I just want to start this off by saying a massive thank you to everybody who has subscribed to this channel, watched my videos. I cannot believe we are going to be coming up at 500 subscribers soon. It has been an amazing journey with all of you guys. I never expected this kind of response so quickly when I started the channel, and I'm so thankful to everyone who's been a part of this journey. And you know, without you, there wouldn't be a channel. There'd be nobody to watch my videos and nobody to communicate with and engage with. So a massive shout out to everybody who's watching this video, who has watched my videos. I really appreciate it, guys. It is so much fun being on this YouTube journey with all of you, and I'm excited to be able to give something back. So thank you so much, and if you haven't already and you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notifications bell, do all the YouTube cliches. If you enjoy Funko Pops, if you enjoy collecting, if you enjoy Comic-Cons, hit that button, and you may just end up being one of the giveaway winners like we're going to have today. So you will see now on the screen, I have my laptop in front of me here, but I also have put on the screen the list of people who have entered this giveaway, and we have here a soft pop protector with numbers for everybody in that giveaway. So we're going to go ahead and shake this bad boy up. I'll give it a good proper and firm shake, give it a couple of seconds, and let's go ahead and pick a winner. Your hand, you want to see. So here is our winner, and our winner is number 22. Number 22 is Jawiar008. Congratulations, Jawiar008. Get in contact with me. I see you commented on a YouTube video, so thank you so much for watching the videos. Guys, you could have entered this giveaway by following me on Instagram and commenting on one of those posts. I tried to keep it as fair as possible and give as many people a chance to win by having those different platforms for you to comment on the videos and let me know what you were thinking, because we are going through stages we're trying to figure out where the channel is with copper. So thank you so much for everyone who entered. I'm sorry to those who didn't win. Please keep entering, guys. We will do something special for 500 subscribers. I will let you know what's going on as we start to get closer to that. That does for today's videos, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Jawiar008, get in contact with me and we'll get your pop sent out to you. I hope you guys have an amazing day wherever you are. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video.